a writer, a philanthropist, a civil rights advocate, connoisseur of arts, a political activist, and a strong supporter of women's entrepreneurship, not only in this country, in India. He serves on the boards of so many public and civic bodies. If I list, you will not be able to go home for dinner or the cafeteria. So it's a big list. So I will make it as short as possible. He has a foundation called Frank Islam and Debbie Dreisman Foundation. That foundation is helping funding education, arts, culture, and recently he was invited to be keynote speaker at President John F. Kennedy Library Foundation in Boston, where he gave a speech which was covered by all the press and media all over the world. And coming Wednesday, 31st of January, he will be honored by the President Kennedy Library Foundation at National Press Club. He had been an ardent supporter of NCIA. He's a good friend of all of us. Please welcome, with a round of applause, to Dr. Frank Islam. When he's coming, I would like to show you, there was a 10-page article on him on Cochin Herald with the pictures of all the president, prime ministers, including the Prime Minister of Canada. So it is my honor to present to you Dr. Frank Islam.
Don't you think we should have a Dr. Bonnick everywhere for my introduction? He does a great job. I want to recognize Roger Berlinen, who's sitting there. Roger, good to see you. I also recognize my dear friend, Aruna Miller. Aruna, how are you? So it's wonderful to see Aruna. Aruna is running for the congressional seat that's vacated by John Delaney, and there are many other candidates as well. So hopefully you will support her. Aruna, good to see you. And thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here. We met a couple of years ago. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Dr. Bonnick, for your introduction. Dr. Bonnick inspires us and challenges us so that we can be the best we can be. Let's give him a big round of applause to Dr. Bonnick. I know his voice is a little bit sort of not doing very well, but I hope he recovers very soon. Let me extend my warmest Republic Day greetings to all of you. On this occasion, a Republic Day, I wish all of you in India a wonderful, prosperous, and peaceful 2018 and one nation under God. As one nation under God, India will be land of big dreams, small treasures, brave people, kind deeds, and tender mercies. We can do this not by looking to the God and the heavens, but by looking at the earth and the people and the family that we are. I've spoken to NCAIA gatherings and other audiences to celebrate India's Republic and Independence Day on several occasions. I must state that I have never given a more important speech on any of those days than the one that I will deliver this evening. That is so because of my topic, which is women's empowerment, or as I've titled my remarks, Women's Empowerment, the Need for Silence Breaking and Interdependence. Let me begin by talking about the need for silence breaking. The Time magazine this year named the woman who disclosed the sexual harassment that had been committed against them by the rich and powerful as its Person of the Year 2017. They labeled these women on silence breakers. They came out of the shadows to call attention to a form of harassment that should never have been tolerated, but it was. They were engaged in silence breaking. Because of the status of the Indian woman today, there is a critical need for silence breaking. This silence breaking should not be about sexual harassment, but about an invisible socio-economic systems of barriers, obstacles, and limitations that prevents Indian women from learning, advancing, and achieving their full potential. This is true especially in terms of business ownership and entrepreneurship. Various studies have shown that Indian women entrepreneurs are among the most disadvantaged in the world. They are underpaid, undervalued, and exploited. In spite of an increase of women business owners and operators over the past several years, entrepreneurship still remains a male bastion. A recent study by the National Sample Survey Organization found that only 14% of the Indian business establishments are run by females. The same study disclosed that most of the women-run businesses get very little support from financial institutions, with about 79% being self-financed. These are sad and bothersome findings. Even more bothersome is what is discovered when the status of Indian women entrepreneurs is compared to that of women entrepreneurs around the world. In 2015, the Global Entrepreneurship Development Institute issued a report containing its Female Entrepreneurship Index, ranking countries with respect to the conditions present that will fuel high potential female entrepreneurship development. India was near the bottom of that index, ranking 70th out of 77 countries. In 2017, MasterCard issued its Index of Women Entrepreneur, ranking countries based on assessment of women's advancement outcomes, knowledge assets, and financial access, and supporting entrepreneur conditions. India ranked 49th out of 54 countries on the MasterCard Index. The MasterCard report reinforced the dismal findings of the other studies, but that report offered a glimmer of hope by observing there is a significant potential to harness the untapped potential of Indian women's entrepreneurship. I firmly believe that we can harness that untapped potential by working together to move Indian women to a state of interdependence. I will devote the rest of my time to talking about what all of us can do together to create the state of interdependence. In my opinion, there is an empowerment continuum with 3 points on it. Dependence, in which a woman has no power or control over her life or outcomes. Independence, which is the midpoint where a woman has developed the necessary knowledge, skills, abilities, and attitude to be liberated and self-actualizing. And interdependence, where a woman is empowered to sit in full equality with men to influence and make decisions and establish directions for a family, a business, a community, a region, or a nation. So, how do we collaborate to help create a state of interdependence for Indian women? I recommend doing it by applying a 3E formula. And those E's are education, enlightenment, and entrepreneurship. These E's are intertwined, but the empowerment of women and movement towards a state of interdependence must begin with education, especially from those weaker sections of the community. The 2011 census showed that the literacy rate in India was just over 74%. The rate for males was slightly above 82%, and the rate for females was only 65%. That is not a good news in terms of having a sound, universal platform for the empowerment of women. In education, literacy is the starting line, and higher education is the finish line for becoming fully empowered. These statistics indicate that not enough women even get to the starting line, and very few get to the finish line. This must change. Women must be able to participate along the entire educational continuum. This participation is pivotal for the future of a nation. For the individual woman, education itself is empowering. It removes the shackles of ignorance. It builds self-esteem and confidence. A good education is the key to opportunity and a bridge to the future. It's a powerful equalizer to lift women out of poverty. For the family, education prepares the woman to be a change agent. Too many families, especially families from the socially and economically disadvantaged sections, are trapped in poverty because of lack of education. With her own education, the woman can educate and equip her children to escape their trap. For India, education delivers on the promise of the largest representative democracy in the world. Central to that promise are equality, opportunity, and inclusive economic mobility. Education levels the playing field and makes that promise a reality. We as an Indian American with a love for our motherland and our own mothers have an obligation to reach out to assist the public and private sectors in India in providing the appropriate education at the primary school level to ensure the necessary foundation for empowerment of women. That's the first E, education. The second E is enlightenment, which comes in part through higher education. In the 21st century, higher education is becoming more important for climbing the ladder of success and empowerment. Enlightenment usually occurs in higher education because it is there the person gains not only the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are necessary for success, but also come to the recognition of what is possible and realize that by aiming high and working hard, that they can accomplish the possible and change impossible to possible and control their own destiny. Personal enlightenment is an essential requirement for the empowerment of women. When we empower and educate women, they will be in the forefront of empowering other women, who will then educate and empower other women, and the cycle will continue. This brings me to my final E, entrepreneurship. I highlighted the sad statistics on Indian women business entrepreneurs near the beginning of my speech. But entrepreneurship is not limited to business. It can and must occur in all fields and professions: education, engineering, health sciences, law, politics, information technology, to name just a few. The development of women entrepreneurs in all of those fields will ensure multi-pronged progress in terms of the pursuit of interdependence for women across the board. We need to encourage and support this development. I recommend a three-pronged approach for that development. These prongs should be: educate and empower women to become entrepreneurs, ensure adequate financial resources to support their entrepreneurial ventures, provide mentoring to promote success in entrepreneurship. The education for women to become entrepreneurs should be multifaceted, stressing not only book learning, but also providing the hands-on skills and abilities required to run a business. It should also be directed towards preparing women to enter fields in which there are too few females business owners today, such as information technology, manufacturing, and engineering. Numerous studies have found that women in emerging markets have much more difficulty in securing loans than men and have to rely on their own financing. We need to provide the venture capital support to help women start and grow a business. Unless they come from a family that has a business, have worked in the business, women entrepreneurs have seen no role models and have had no coaching on how to start, run, and build a business. A mentoring program can fill that gap. I hope that many of you in this audience have made commitment to support the empowerment of women. There is an urgent need for women's inclusion in all levels, especially in the economy. So in closing, thank you for being here today and listening to me. I hope that I've given you additional food for thought on women's empowerment, and that you'll be willing to join me in this journey as a partner in the silence breaking and increasing the interdependence of Indian women. God bless you all, and let us together, please join me in this journey, that India and the United States of America become leaders internationally in the empowerment of women. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frank Islam, for your excellent speech.